Well, g'day and welcome to this edition of the Master Analyser. We've got a great show for you today, but firstly, as usual, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Launch Tea, Ready Steady Go Kids, Adzguru and Echo Loom, Echo Look in India. Also, another big shout out to Crick Heroes and All That Cricket for providing us with all the data and analysis. But when I say we've got a big show for you today, we've got a wonderful question being sent in by Aksad Chaprati, and well, yeah, you'll wait and see. I think you'll really enjoy it. And of course, we've got Mike Hussey, that wonderful cricketer both in Australia, around the world, professional cricketer, professional coach, professional commentator these days, and coach at Chennai Super Kings, having been a player there for many years and being part of Chennai Super Kings IPL trophy this season. So yeah, really good show lined up. But first, before we go to the main analysis, which is around the game between the West Indies and Australia, let's have a quick look at the scoreboards from the other game, which was England and South Africa. Now, I think this game probably was the match of the tournament at the moment because of the high-scoring nature and the thrilling finish. Obviously, going into this game, South Africa knew that they had to not only beat England, but they also had to make sure that they could get their net run rate up to pass Australia to make the semi-final, with Australia having already beaten the West Indies. So what a game it was. And we saw that South Africa batted first and really put together a very, very impressive innings, mainly due to the work of Van der Dusen and Markram. They put together a partnership of 103 in some 52 balls. So an exciting partnership. Van der Dusen 93 from 59 and Markram 53 from 25. So that was beautifully set up then for them to try to knock over England for a score of, or at least restrict them to a score of 131 or less. Now, Shamsi bowled exceptionally well, taking 2 for 24 in that innings, but really the excitement unfolded towards the end, albeit that by this stage South Africa were no longer a chance to make the semi-final. But England, with 5 wickets down, needed 14 in the last over, and Wokes and Morgan both in and going. And Rabada bowled an exceptional last over, taking 3 wickets for 2 runs to get South Africa across the line and beating England. So that meant that 3 teams finished on 8 points in the group, but England, with the higher run rate, still held on to first place, second to Australia, and then third to South Africa. But it must ask a couple of questions of England. They looked pretty impenetrable coming into this game and therefore into the rest of the tournament. But South Africa has turned that around, and now maybe, just maybe, there's a bit of a crack in the armour of England. So, to the first game, and we were looking at the West Indies and Australia match, and again winning the toss, sending West Indies into bat. It meant that again we could take, or Australia could take advantage of chasing. They know the score that they had to get and went about doing that. And really the West Indies struggled with the bat, but somehow managed to eke out a score of 7 for 157. And that was really in part due to Pollard making 44 from 31 deliveries. He was supported by Bravo and then latterly Andre Russell. And Russell came to the party in the last over of Stark by hitting the 5th ball and the 6th ball out of the park to get them to that score of 757. Now that was a reasonable score, but certainly under par, and Australia strode through that total pretty comfortably, and certainly it was Warner and Marsh who really did the damage. second wicket partnership of 124 from 75 balls, coming together in the 4th over and were separated in the 16th over, really set the seal on the game, the win and the movement into the semi-finals. It was interesting, the West Indies with their team, they used 4 spinners in the end, with Walsh, Akil, Chase, and then even Gayle coming on for 1 over and picking up 1 wicket in his last game. And it does seem that both he and Bravo have strode the international stage for the last time. There were some pretty emotional scenes as we watched the game unfold, and so 2 wonderful servants of the game, great cricketers and certainly West Indian superstars, have departed our cricketing ranks. So here we are, back over in the West. Chilly start of the morning, but Mike Hussey joins us, the superstar of Australian cricket, always known as Mr. Cricket. Wonderful player, certainly a wonderful player when I was coach, wonderful person to have in the side, and not only on field but off field as well. So welcome this morning, Michael. Great to see you.
Good morning, John. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm not sure I was a superstar or anything like that, but especially with some of the other players we had in the team at that stage, guys like Warney and McGrath and Gilchrist, Hayden, Langer, the list was unbelievable. So it was a pretty good team to be part of, I must admit.
It certainly was, but you fitted in very easily indeed, I must say. And obviously you took a lot of that knowledge and experience and you've taken that around the world, and Chennai Super Kings is one of the places that you've certainly been part of for many years as a player and now as a coach. Must have been pretty exciting winning that IPL this year.
Oh, unbelievable. It's an unbelievable franchise, really. The way they treat the players, the way they treat the staff, the leadership from the top is amazing. And you feel really proud to just be part of such an organisation. Very, very well led, from an owner perspective down through Stephen Fleming as the coach and then MS Dhoni as captain. They've got some really good pillars of great leadership there. So, I'm not surprised that this franchise had a lot of success over the years.
Yeah, so you mentioned Dhoni, and obviously he's in and around the Indian camp at the moment. So I'm assuming that they will certainly be looking to that sort of leadership, that calmness in this situation for them, because there's still a slim chance to make it through, albeit that it's a little bit out of their hands. They've still got to win their final game against Namibia, I think it is, and they've got to really rely on Afghanistan doing them a favour by knocking over New Zealand. But I imagine having Dhoni in around the dressing room will sort of calm all that down a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the right word to use when Dhoni's going to be around, is that calmness. And he'll just try and help them focus on what's important, because, especially around India, there's just so much hype around every single game, every player. It's easy to get distracted. And he's just got this wonderful ability to bring the players back to, look, guys, it's just a game at the end of the day. Just get out there, give your best, concentrate on your skill and try and execute your skill as best you can. And then what will be from there. And, just there's so many external distractions, and it's easy to get caught up in that. But he is very good at just bringing guys back to the present and back to the now.
Yes, no, great man. And look, to the game, but leading into the game, obviously we saw last night 2 of the West Indian superstars finishing up their careers. One being Chris Gayle, who I knew a little bit, or had a little bit to do with at Knight Riders, and certainly we played against them, of course, between Australia and West Indies. But one of the other chaps, Dwayne Bravo, who again a little bit about at Chennai Super Kings, really another fantastic servant of the game.
Great analogy there. Servant of the game. He loves the game of cricket. Very passionate. But I think competitor is the word that really stands out to me. He wasn't the quickest bowler going around. He wasn't the best batsman, in the team ever. But gee whiz, when you put his competitive attitude and will to win, he just got the best out of himself as a player. He's a highly skilled player and a little bit unorthodox in a lot of ways. The way he went about his batting, he was very hard to bowl to at the death, because a lot of teams like to bowl those wide Yorkers and just try and get the batsman to hit, to the offside. But that was actually Bravo's strength. So as soon as bowlers went there at the death, he had this amazing ability to be able to hit the ball over the offside with enormous power, actually. And then his coolness and calmness under pressure with the ball, bowling at the death, he became a great asset to the team and much loved around the team as well. Yeah, they're going to be missed, both of those guys. They've had huge contributions to the game and to West Indies cricket, and they'll go down as champions of West Indies cricket, and they're going to be really difficult to replace. So a shame for them that they couldn't go out on a bit more of a high, but unfortunately, the West Indies couldn't do it again. But I think they'll leave a real mark on the game for West Indies cricket, and as I said, they'll be sorely missed and very difficult to replace.
Definitely, and so we saw little cameos, little glimpses of exactly what you were saying last night with Bravo placing one of those trademark shots out over cover for 6, and of course Gayle parrying a few deliveries to the boundary as well. But if we looked at the game, some of the moments that I like to reflect on that seem to contribute to the end result, which is sort of those change of momentum moments. We saw Hazlewood, who really has been, I think, one of Australia's strengths in this tournament at the moment, and they'll rely on him heavily going into the semi-finals and hopefully further. Plundered a little bit in that first over of 19 or so, but really struck in his fourth wicket, which was the fourth over of the game, taking those 2 wickets, and that really set West Indies on the back foot. And again, really found it difficult to recover till probably Pollard, Bravo, and then Andre Russell powered a couple of last deliveries of Starks over the boundary to get them to that 157. But that was really a bit under par, wasn't it?
I think so. Honestly, watching the West Indies play and looking